Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the North Branford Conservation and Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency to order. This meeting on Wednesday, October 28, 2020 at approximately 6:33 p.m. First thing I'd like to do is just do a roll call of everyone seated here or attending this meeting, I should say. We have Jerry Fishback, Ashley Joyner, Frank Bergano, and Bill Galdenzi. And we have Carrie Duquez, our town planner and wetlands administrator. And I'm Steve Scavell, will be acting as chairman for this evening's meeting. Next item would be item 3, which would be minutes of September 23rd and the field walks on September 30th and minutes from October 15, 2020. So let's start with September 23rd. Does anyone have any revisions or comments on those?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, September 23rd.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I abstain. I was not at that meeting.
No.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Next one would be the field walk for September 30th. Which one was that? Was that the one that, that was at?
Veneris.
1071
right.
Middletown Avenue.
So there really wasn't a quorum for that. It was just like Ashley, myself, and Carrie. So we'll just table that one then.
Well,
No.
you can do that because we have everyone. That's
Yeah.
Oh,
We
we
only
still
have-
vote on? Okay, I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure. That's fine. Then,
And for the record, I did visit the site after the site
oh,
walk.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I move that we accept the field walk notes
All right, do we have a second?
for September 30th at which one?
1071.
1071 Middletown Avenue.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, that would be you, Steve.
Right.
Oh, okay, I second. That's right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Forget, I'm not used to doing that. Okay, the last one is the minutes from October 15th, 2020, that, I guess, the field walk at,
I'll make a motion
Aquatic.
to approve the minutes of October 15th.
I
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes passed. All right, so next we'll move on to item 4, old business, under item A, IWWA 2020-8 site plan work for within 200 feet of the Farm River, including excavation, backfilling, grading, paving, and landscape work associated with construction of an accessory storage building at 1437 Middletown Avenue. Owner LJT Enterprises, LLC, applicant Thomas J. Londano. Application received on September 23rd, 2020 and continued to October 28th, 2020.
So we did have the site walk on October 15th, and some of the remaining questions I believe that the commission had was the distance from the river to the closest point of disturbance. And there's also been a revision to the plan, which Mike can go over and share, relating to the roof drains. And then another question was if the applicant had considered another layout of the building design. So at this point, I'll let Mike kind of go through those.
Okay.
Thank you, Carrie. Just for the record, I'm Mike Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Summerhill Civil Engineers in Madison. I think everyone was on the site walk. I think Bill.
Yep.
Bill was too, right? I think.
Yeah, yes, I was.
And maybe I'm wrong, Carrie, but in the field, did we have that revised plan? Did you guys have the revised plan in the field that day that showed the roof water infiltration?
You had said that the roof water would be drained into the system that already exists, and you showed us where the sewer pipe or the covers were, the manhole covers were.
Yeah, so the roof water, I may have misspoke, Ashley. The roof water is going to be drained into a new, I'll show you in a second, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
But
The
there's
other
a-
side of the assemblies, those display assemblies, right?
Right, but yes, behind the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I should, can I share my screen, Carrie?
Yes, you should be able to.
Okay.
Let me know if it doesn't work.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, let me, I'll just zoom out just for a minute here. So, actually, I'll zoom back in. So the gray, here's the parking area. If you remember, we all stood down here and talked, and this is where that 7 or so or 8 spaces are, parking spaces, and here's the display pool. And the gray area is this L-shaped gray area is the proposed building. And the roof water infiltration system is these galleries right here, right behind the building. And it's called out right here as a roof water infiltration system. So these are 4x4 precast concrete leaching chambers, and they're exactly actually what we put in years ago underneath this parking lot. It's the exact same type of system. So if this building is constructed, this concrete apron drains to this catch basin, which goes into the existing infiltration gallery system, and the rainwater leaders on the gutters of this new building will be connected to this new gallery system, roof water infiltration system. So they're all. Are you guys all familiar with what they look like? The galleries. There you go. There's a detail. That's what they look like. So they're just precast concrete structures with these openings in them that allow the water to fill up and be temporarily stored, and then to leach out the sides as well as the bottom of the galleries. Pretty typical, pretty common thing to do.
May I ask a question at this point?
Sure.
These galleries that you're talking about, that's exactly the same thing I have for a leach field. I have 80 feet of them for a leach field for my home septic.
Yep.
And, we're talking here, aren't we talking here about just catching the runoff for the roof runoff?
Correct. Correct.
Is there anything else going into them?
No, just the roof. It's a closed system, really. If you think about it, it's the rainwater and snowmelt comes off the roof, goes in the water, goes down the rainwater leader, connected to a pipe that goes into the galleries, and that's it.
And what kind of roof are we talking about on this building?
The material?
No, I mean the shape. Is this does some of it shed forward? Does some of it shed towards the river, or is it a flat roof?
I think it's all. I think it's 2 gabled roofs, Jerry.
2 gabled.
A ridge. I'm tracing it on my plan. A ridge this way, and a ridge this way. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So there'd be gutters, of course, around the perimeter. Here, probably here, I would think. Here, and here, I would think.
And the square footage of the total roof space?
I forget, but I submitted calculations to Kirk. I can try to find them while we're talking, but I did submit.
All right. The reason I'm asking this is because it seems to me to build this system to catch the rainwater in back may be more of a disturbance within the wetlands than is actually necessary. I mean, this seems pretty excessive just to catch rainwater now. I'm not an engineer, of course, and I don't know that for a fact. But it just seems like, I mean, you're talking about 4x4 galleys, 150 feet of them. That's an incredibly large tunnel under the ground. And is all of this really necessary, or are we overbuilding to satisfy certain regulations?
So there's a so every town now is subject to the Connecticut DEP's MS4 permit, the municipal separate storm sewer systems. You've probably heard the MS4 terminology.
Yep.
One of the requirements of that permit is that municipalities by certain date include revisions to their land use regulations that encourage certain practices like this: low impact development practices, stormwater treatment, stormwater quality and treatment practices. And I think the town engineer, when he requested this, is simply trying to meet those requirements. Well, I suspect, I'm quite sure that he's requesting this kind of thing of all applications where he feels it's appropriate. So there's a couple ways to do it. The roof water could be allowed to be discharged to the ground, and when the ground surface is very flat, which is the case here, and where it's wooded and has a thick forest layer, this is very similar to what we talked about at Fowler Road. When you have relatively flat surfaces and you have a vegetated surface, especially a wooded area where there's a thick forest layer, the roof water can simply come off of the roofs and be discharged to the ground and allowed to spread over that area and infiltrate into the ground. It achieves the same thing. The town engineer requested a more formal infiltration system. That's why the galleries.
All right, well, that's precisely where I was going with this. I was wondering if the discharge could just flow as a sheet through the forest floor and be infiltrated on its own. When we were working on the Shantz Farm development, we were talking about an alternative development means, which was at the time low impact development, which would have eliminated curbs from the street, it would have eliminated culverts, it would have eliminated piping of the water, and it would have all worked by sheet flow. But it was felt at that particular time that the North Branford Town Works wasn't really set up to deal with that sort of development at the time. It was kind of new to everybody, and I think we were kind of slow to adopt it. And it seems to me that in this situation, we're not talking about a gigantic building by any means. Seems to me that the water could be discharged and levelly spread over, into the forest and just dissipate, infiltrate on its own. But
it could, and Kurt, it could, and Kurt, Kurt's trying to. Nothing wrong with what Kurt requested. Kurt's trying to do the right thing.
The only perspective I was going to add is this is more common that we're seeing in some more of the newer developments and projects we see on the zoning side that don't have really inland wetland impact. So you guys wouldn't see it, but we're seeing it more in zoning, and this is becoming more common. This is not abnormal, Jerry.
No, I didn't think it was abnormal at all. I actually I fully agree that this is the norm, but I thought that there might be less impactful ways of addressing this that have just been slow to be adopted.
I'm thinking about what you've said, Jerry, and other alternatives, and as I stare at this, and having been out there today and walked in the woods right down to the river. What I would suggest we don't do is simply allow the rainwater leaders as a point discharge to just discharge to the ground. We would need to spread it out. You kind of mentioned this, and on this particular site, it occurs to me, and I've just thought of this now because you just brought it up. To spread it out, you instead of building these galleries underground, you'd have to construct some type of a level spreader.
Exactly.
Much in the same location, so you'd still have very much like we did on the Fowler Road application at the stormwater at the road storm drainage system outlets. So you'd still have this disturbance here because really it's the only place to put it. So I think it could be, on this site, it could be done either way, but I believe, unfortunately, you'd still have that disturbed area behind the building. I would say we can't, there's really no other place to go with it and get it down at the right elevation where it would, meet the wooded area elevation and be able to flow over it as sheet flow.
Okay.
This is actually, as you can imagine, the more expensive way to do it.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And I'm sure as you go on, I think we're going to come back to the back of the building here where you have this gallery construction, because it was my understanding that the existing slope was going to be extended further into the woods towards the river, which made me think that why did we have to do that at all? Could not a foundation, I think the difference in elevation from the top of the slope to the bottom of the slope, as you showed it, was approximately at your chest level, somewhere around 4.5 feet. And why couldn't a foundation go right down to the existing perimeter of the building and then backfill in the foundation instead of disturbing the woods any further and bringing a slope out into the woods?
It could actually, and I think I hope we talked about this. This filling and sloping is related to the installation of the galleries, is in order to cover the galleries and then slope down. If these galleries went away, this back wall would have more exposed foundation, whatever material it
Right.
concrete. When you stood back here and looked at it, you'd probably see, like you said, you'd probably see top of the foundation wall would be around 153 and the ground's about 149-ish or so. So yeah, you'd see about 4 feet of exposed wall. But nobody, no one would see that unless they were standing back here.
Correct.
But that leaves us with, so the galleries, we can't put those galleries down in the existing grade. They've got to be up high to stay away from the potential. We have to provide a vertical separation distance to the groundwater table, and that's why I've got them set up high, and that necessitated the filling. So if you're correct, if you took these galleries away, you would not have to grade as much in the back of the building. If we go to the level spreader option, we would still disturb the area, but we would not be raising the grade. We'd actually want that level spreader down at elevation 149 or so. So we'd still disturb this, but we would not be placing fill because we would not be trying to cover these galleries.
Mike,
Okay.
just one other thought that follows this discussion. Does Aquatic, I know they do a lot of landscaping services. Do they do anything like rain gardens? so I'm thinking that they could put something like that in to serve two purposes. One, it would be an alternative like Jerry's suggesting, and also it could serve as a display point for the business.
That's a good idea, Carrie. I don't know. I don't know if they do that, but that's a good idea. In other words, the level spreader would, I think what you're saying would actually be incorporated in a rain garden design.
Right, and then also serve like, as a display point, like, because I don't know if they'll be relocating the display walls, but they have the pools and everything else along with their stonework and their fence work.
That's that's a very good point, and relatively easy to do, and truthfully, much less expensive than all these galleries. So yeah, I believe that actually could be done, as long as you're okay with, we still have that disturbance, but what we'd end up with is a rain garden, a vegetated area that's handling the water, the roof water.
Mike, were you able to talk to the owners and ask about a redesign where it's one straight building and up further so it doesn't disturb as much into the review area?
I did, Ashley. So the owner went through a process with his building designer, like most owners, their program and their needs and requirements for what they want to do with the building. And they did look at initially a rectangular building, and they did look at sliding it up, but my understanding is that their requirements for what they want to do within this building and the storage area that they need drove this L shape. And one of the reasons it's back so far is the fence on the display pool. If you remember, there was a decorative black fence all the way around the display pool, which is required by code. So in order to get this L in, they only moved it, as you can see here. This distance is probably about 4 feet off the fence. It's just enough room to walk between the display pool fence and this face of the building. So yeah, to answer your question, they did, but this is where they landed.
So even though it might be comparable square footage, they needed an L-shaped building instead of even a rectangular one in the same square footage?
No, I don't think that was it, Ashley. I think to get the square footage that they need, the building would be slid, it'd be up here someplace. They would lose their, let me pan down a little bit. They would lose their, if you remember, there's these above ground display pools. I'll trace the circle. There's a circle there.
Yep.
And there's a circle there. This one they've got to relocate. But if they slid the building up there, they'd end up having to relocate both.
Two instead of one. Okay, right. But it's less of a disturbance into the review area, so that's why I'm just wondering why, if it's just to move two of their displays can be remounted anywhere.
Well, I don't know where they could redo their displays. There's probably room, but that was their thinking. Was to try to make sure they had. I think they would prefer. I'm trying to pan over here. Prefer to have all their display in this area where they have it today. So that and the location of this fence, drove the L shaped.
Excuse me. As far as the location of that fence is concerned, I believe that the building, if it did slide up those 4 feet you're talking about, the building could actually serve as that portion of fencing. The fencing can providing there's no doorway there or window.
Yeah, the fence would just connect probably right to this corner, Jerry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if it were an issue and you needed to slide the building those 4 feet, it wouldn't disturb the swimming pool display at all. It would just eliminate a small section of fencing.
Yeah, it could. The other thing, you're right, I agree with you, you're right. The other thing is, again, if we go with Carrie's idea down here, we don't have to do any sloping, again. So we would we'd pull this back somewhat. It would be pulled back 4 feet or so, and then in addition, we'd be able to pull this whole area forward at a minimum of 4 feet, probably more than that.
And that would bring your foundation higher up on the slope as well. 4 feet.
Yeah, a bit, yep.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yep.
But the rainforest idea down at the bottom is great. You put in a tiki bar and everything down there,
I'm not sure that's what I was thinking, but it is actually, no kidding, it's a good idea. And maybe it is something, I don't know, Carrie probably knows better than me. I don't know if that's what Tom is doing landscape work. I didn't realize that.
I don't know if he's doing the rain garden work, but I just, in seeing his displays and just various permits that he's been involved in, he's doing a lot of landscaping work, more than just, I think a lot of people realize, he's not just doing pool installations.
Yeah. I'm sure he wouldn't mind doing that in the back. And again, it's honestly, it's a lot less expensive.
Mike, were you able to find the sanitary sewer connection off to the side? When we looked, we couldn't find it, but have you been able to locate it?
No, I tried again today, but actually Tom's guys, when I left, were still looking for it. So I'll have to report. I told Carrie this earlier today. I'll have to report back to her tomorrow. We know it's there because the surveyors located it, but I cannot find it. I kicked all around in the leaves and I could not find it. So Tom Lodano's guys actually left. We're looking for it, trying to find it. But we're actually not connecting at that manhole, Ashley. We're actually
Okay.
up here. So,
Okay.
but we don't really, it's not really part of, there's no work here. It's not part of the application. We're connecting to the sewer up here.
Okay.
But I did try, I told Carrie earlier, I did try to find it. I also measured to the river and today, and I also flagged all the trees that I think need to be removed. And I took photographs, which I could share. Carrie has them. I sent them to her, but I could try to share.
Was your measurement to the river to the bank or to the center of the stream?
I measured to the top of the bank, and it was about 71 or 2 feet from the front of this display wall to the tie. I pulled the tape from the front of this long display wall to the very top of the bank of the river.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was within 100 feet.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And and then I flagged it. I counted 13 trees that would be removed. And I can show you those pictures. I think you'll be able to see the flagging on the trees if you'd like. You probably remember what it was like. Some of them are relatively small. They're a couple inches in diameter, but several of them are rather large, including that one dead one that I think Steve pointed out, or maybe it was Bill, I can't remember.
Dying, I think.
Dead. So I think that's it in a nutshell. Unless you have other questions, I do think this can be done, Carrie's idea, and I can't see why we can't slide it up 4 feet to that fence either. I'll have to talk to Tom. We'll have to look at, talk about the building design, but I would imagine we'd be able to slide it up.
I have a question, but I'm not sure, Mike, that you can answer it because I don't think you were involved with the project at the end of Ciro Road, were you?
No.
No. In that project, we had actually gotten them to turn the proposed building around and put the back of the building against the wetlands. And I'm wondering, how did we address handling the roof runoff in that project? Does anybody remember?
I believe it was through I'll have to look. They might be connected to the detention basins because there was a basin.
Yeah.
I think it went into the basin.
Okay. Okay, great.
I don't think, I guess I should say for the record, I do not think that this proposal has the potential to adversely affect the inland wetlands. Although, I mean, the only real impact, I think, is the removal of, of the trees in this area here. If we did slide it up, we probably will remove less than 13 trees, but we will still be removing some trees, of course, to get that level spreader rain garden installation in for the building. And again, we'd be doing less filling in this area in the back of the building. This tree, if you remember, this big maple will still definitely have to go.
Yeah.
And again, I took pictures if you'd like to look at them again.
So at this point, is there any other comments or questions from the agency members? I just was wondering where we should proceed now. Should we allow Mike to go back to the applicant and express, run by some of the two main ideas, basically, going to maybe a level spreader and maybe moving the building back 4 feet. Those would definitely seem to be two things that would be encouraged by the agency at this point. So unless anyone else has any other comments, or concerns, of course.
I'm fairly comfortable with this whole project. I would like to see the galleries dispensed with. I'd like to see as little impact as possible. But for me, none of this is a deal breaker. I think that any way that they go forward with it is going to be minimal impact on the environment, and I'd be okay with it, but I would certainly like to see lower impact if at all possible. And I like the idea also of the water garden and natural spreading of the root water. Going to be clean.
Agreed. I love
the
rain garden idea is a great idea.
Yeah. If I could add, sorry, Bill, I think I can safely say that the applicant will agree to the rain garden level spreader in the rear and sliding the building forward. If the commission was inclined to act tonight, I think that would be helpful, actually, timing wise.
How do the other agency members? I mean, I think that sounds reasonable to me. Is anyone else okay with that, or something we should?
I guess my only question is, does Kurt have to approve the roof runoff through garden? I mean, I would think it has to go through Kurt too, doesn't it?
I think that serves the same purpose. I don't know, what's your feeling, Mike, from an engineer standpoint?
I would say, having been an engineer, I would say that Kurt will be fine with it, because Kurt's goal is, as is Carrie's, every municipality has to implement the MS4 permit requirements. And you know, as I said earlier, the rain garden level spreader idea is just another way to do it. There's no real difference in the function or you know or the outcome here. The whole idea is to promote the infiltration of water from impervious surfaces. That's the idea. It's not in this particular case, it's not a water quality issue because it's roof water. You know, roof water is considered clean by DEP and in the stormwater quality manual requirements. It's the goal is to promote the infiltration, you know, and the recharge of water from proposed impervious surfaces, which is, believe it or not, way back when we did the main building, is exactly what we did. That's why we put, before there was a requirement, we put these galleries under the ground here. We did that because we're in the public water supply watershed at the time. Today, we're still in the public water supply watershed, of course, but today we you know, now there's a municipal requirement to do this kind of thing.
Well, I'm with Jerry. I'm okay with moving this forward tonight with the provision of moving the building and going to a rain garden.
Okay, Ashley and Bill, you feel
I agree with Jerry and Frank. I'm okay with it as well.
Yeah, and I'm not comfortable at all with this because I don't think that if we continue to allow building within 100 feet of the Farm River, we're going to be able to stop anything in the future. And this is making me uncomfortable because a redesign wasn't even considered based on some displays. And this is not sitting right with me at all. But you have the votes to pass it.
We haven't voted.
well, again, you know, Carrie, what do you think is the best way to proceed? Do you have a draft motion or
I do have a draft motion, which we can look at. Let me,
you have to add these two, you know, items to it if possible, and then
right.
we can discuss it some more.
You know, I don't see that allowing any kind of development within the 100-foot necessarily sets a precedence where just because you allowed it in this instant, that you're forced to allow it in every other instance. You know, here again, we're not talking about water quality. We're talking about dispersing clean water runoff. This isn't coming out of, we're not talking about water out of an oily driveway running over asphalt or anything like that. We're talking about roof water, where lots of people used to collect it in cisterns and drink it and use it for their household stuff. So I really don't see that this is necessarily problematic going forward with other types of development.
Well, I do respect, you know, Ashley's concerns, and I think that's
I
express them. But but like you said, I think as far as, you know, projects within, obviously we try to minimize or avoid them. But I do think what Jerry's, if I understand what he's saying, really depends on the impact of the project and, you know, how extensive and its effect on the wetland. And in this one, particular one, it seems like, you know, we're dealing basically with, you know, rainwater, which is not as big an impact as, you know, in other types of projects that we've dealt with, you know, within the 100 or 200 foot, you know, buffer zone. So that's just my thought.
Do you want me to pull up the motion at this point, or how do you want to proceed?
I mean, I think if you could add those two items, we could put it to a vote. It seems the majority of us are, with all due respect to Ashley, would support it, so.
Can I ask one last question? I don't remember if we asked it when we were on the sidewalk. What's going to be stored in the building? Anything?
You did, Frank. No chemicals.
No chemicals, right?
But pools themselves and equipment. I don't know if you remember. I remember telling you all he's got 100 and something in-ground swimming pools coming.
That's right. Okay. So main thing is no chemicals.
Yeah, correct. All that is in his existing big building.
Mike, the material that was behind those display walls, all that tubing and the black piping and stuff, that's all going to be moved and cleaned up, correct?
Yes, I will. You have my word. I will tell him he needs to get that out of there. I looked at it again today. Yeah, I will tell him to remove all that. I think it was mostly corrugated polyethylene tubing.
Yeah, it looked like that.
Yeah.
We could even make that as a special condition, just to, to just make sure that gets cleaned up, although I'm confident Mike will take care of that.
Well, it should be, well, I think it's a good idea. It's a special addition to it because it should also not be used for storage in the future for that type of material, right?
True.
So it's one thing cleaning it up and then next year they put it back. We don't want debris in the wetlands there.
So we put the condition in, then in theory, it gets cleaned up and stays that way, hopefully.
Right. So this is the draft motion, just to go over it generally. The plans that are referenced are the revised plans that Mike had shared. But in the standard conditions are included. And again, let's see, going down. One condition that has been talked about in other applications is number 11, that there are no feasible or prudent alternatives. Again, it sounds like Ashley may not be in agreement with that, but I just kind of point that out for everyone if there's any discussion. And then number 12, determine that the proposed regulated activities are not deemed significant. I think that's fairly unanimous, but for you all to decide. And then any special conditions, so I think would be the replacement of the level spreader. Replacement of the infiltration basins.
The galleries, infiltration galleries.
With a rain garden.
And level spreader.
Level spreader.
And then relocate or to move building to the west by 4 feet, or slide building.
Yes.
Approximately 4 feet.
That sounds right, yeah.
The swimming pool, yeah, to the swimming pool. That's.
I think it's, yeah, to the west, toward the in-ground swimming pool. And then the area within, do you want to say 100 feet of the river shall not be used as storage?
Maybe indicate something then currently, and maybe materials that are currently being stored there, i.e. tubing, etc., should be moved. You want to make it a little more specific.
Okay. Does that sound okay?
Good to me.
Is it a zoning permit?
Yeah, I said zoning permit, I'm just trying to well, issuance, because the wetlands permit is issued, I just am
Yeah.
linking it to the zoning permit that's.
Yeah.
Does that make
You know
sense?
better than me. I was just pointing out that that's next week.
Fair enough. The wetlands permit is issued once we get the bond and/or the sedimentation erosion controls are in place. So I don't want to say the wetlands permit, the zoning permit is just closer to time of construction.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
absolutely.
Carrie, do you need, can you scroll down to the bottom again?
Bottom
Just
of the.
quickly? Yeah. Scroll down to the special ones that you just added. Do you need to, for 13, is that upon approval of the, don't we want to make sure it's upon approval of our town engineer?
Yep.
Idea, yes. I'm sure Kurt will want to review that and make his own recommendation.
Good catch.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
All right, then I guess at this point, if someone would like to read the motion.
The special conditions there under, she's doing it now, I guess.
Yep. I think there were just 3. 13, 14, 15. Yep.
Okay, so you want me to make the motion?
If you'd like, it's all yours.
Okay, I move to approve IWWA application number 2020-8 site plan for installing a building within 200 feet of the Farm River and 100 feet of a wetlands at 1437 Middletown Ave, Assessor Map 67D, Lot 84, Zone B2, owner LJT Enterprises LLC, applicant Thomas J. Lodano, as contained in submitted application documents, stormwater report, and calculations, and shown on plans entitled Permit Drawings Land of LTJ Enterprises LLC, 1437 Middletown Ave, Connecticut Route 17, North Branford, Connecticut, prepared by Summerhill Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors, PC, containing the following sheets. Sheet 1 of 2, general plan dated September 1, 2020, revised to September 21, 2020. Sheet 2 of 2, details dated September 1, 2020, revised to September 21, 2020. And the following standard conditions: 1, 2, 3, A through D, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, and the following special conditions: 13, 14, and 15.
Okay. All in favor? Do we,
Or a
Do you
second.
need a second?
I'll second that.
oh, second, sorry. All right, second by Bill. All right, so now all in favor?
Well, was there any discussion? Sorry.
Oh,
Any
sorry.
additional discussion?
I have one question. It says North Branford, Connecticut. Shouldn't it say Northford?
Oh, boy.
That separate little town down the road there.
That's
Well, us
another good
Northford
catch.
people are proud of being in North.
Happy
Obviously.
family, it's,
Just reciting what the plans had. I'll take the.
No, I know, I'm just giving you grief.
Sorry about that.
no problem.
You got your own zip code.
That's right, and our own post office.
And library.
Yeah, library.
I have no further comment.
Any other questions or concerns before we actually vote? Okay, then I guess we had the motion, we had a second, so I guess now we can vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay. And looks like it passes, so we can move on to the next item.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
So that.
I'll come to your next meeting.
I was just gonna ask you, Mike,
Whether
if
or
you were
not you
gonna come.
have something in front of you, okay.
Just fine. Thank you. Have a good night.
Well,
You too,
listen, Mike, if you really want to do something, you come survey my property because I'm having trouble with some neighbors.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, we're going to move on to item B, which is a cease and desist at 1071 Middletown Avenue for illegal filling and dumping of material within the 100-foot upland review area of a wetlands, update on application and compliance.
So the update here is that an application was submitted, which is the next item on the agenda under new business.
Okay.
So at this point, it's up for discussion, but I'm not sure if the commission wants to keep the cease and desist in place for the time being, just until a decision is made on the application.
Can we
think-
revisit it after going through the application?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's okay. So you could table the item for now? Is there
I move to table 4B until after new business 5A.
I'll second that.
All right, that passes. And I'll move ahead and I'll read into the record. So next, we're going to move on to new business, item A, IWWA, application 2020-11, site plan for after the fact for work completed within 100 feet of wetlands, including stockpiling of stumps, mulch, vehicles, trash and debris, etc. at 1071 Middletown Avenue. Owner LJC Realty LLC, applicant Joe Maneri.
So I have the application. I believe you all have received hard copies in the mail as well. And the engineer, Mike Bennett, is on the call. So I'll let him kind of go through the application, and hopefully I should be able to share the information on our screens when appropriate. And sorry, one other quick thing, just housekeeping. So we did have a site visit at the location on September 30th. So I do have some photos from that field walk as well, if we want to look at them at some point. So, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Mike Bennett. I'm a professional land surveyor with the firm of Bennett and Smilas Associates, 415 Killingworth Road, Higginham, Connecticut. And I've been asked to present the application by Joe Maneri, who's the applicant. I will say right at the moment, Joe is online, but he has to leave shortly for another commitment. If anybody might have a question specific to Joe that they'd like to ask, it would be helpful if you could do that now. Okay. If not, I will move forward with my presentation, and Joe will stay online as long as possible. What we have proposed, Carrie, do you want to share the site plan with us?
Yes.
Please?
Sorry, bear with me 1 minute.
Carrie, your computer sounds like a Commodore 64.
Yep, it's a little outdated here, but
I'd love to say what is a Commodore 64, but I actually know what one is.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay, Carrie, thank you very much.
okay, you can see it. I'll try and zoom in. Yep, sorry, hold on.
The first thing I'd like to say, and if, the first thing that we have to do is move forward and remove the stockpiles and everything that are currently on site. Joe, if you're available, you may want to jump in and give us some timing for that. But our intent with the presentation of this plan is to contain all of the future area stockpiles within the existing paved area. I did some research. I also shared some photographs, aerial photographs with Carrie that respect to that existing paved area went back to 2004, which was a little difficult to view because it was kind of washed out because it was a black and white photograph.
Would you like me to share those, Mike?
If the commission hasn't viewed them, it might be helpful just to see what was there.
Okay, so this is the 2004 aerial view.
Yeah, and you can't see a lot. That unfortunately was a black and white photograph, and it's got kind of washed out, but you can see there's, and I think the one thing I want to impress upon you as you look at these photographs is if you watch the parking areas and the disturbed areas on site, and then if you look at the tree line around it, I think you're going to note that hasn't changed. The tree line hasn't changed very much. Around this site, you still see disturbance in the rear, which would be the south portion of the site.
Can you see this, the 2006 now?
That's correct. This is
Okay.
a 2006. You'll see the existing pavement, which substantially is the same as what's there today and what shows on our plan. You'll see it on this photo, you'll see primarily cars parking there. And then if you move on to the 2006 photograph, you'll see it's pretty much a trucking terminal. You have trailers parked all around it. You have a very similar tree line to what we have there today, and you see off the back or the south end of that existing paved area, you'll see a vegetated grass area around the parking area. So I think this disturbance that you see around the site, around the parking area, although now there have been some piles placed on it and stuff, it's not something that's new. The pavement, for the most part, has been there for, at least in this point, 16, 18 years. So now, Carrie, if we could go back to the site plan, I think
This was ABC bus tours in the
Yes.
Continental limousine or something, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was bus parking and limousine parking
Correct.
on the paved
And-
surface.
Right. On the site plan, we do show the edge of the existing pavement. What we're showing are 3 separate storage areas, 2 on the south, 1 on the east side for wood chip storage, topsoil storage, and a fill storage area. Then north of that, you'll see some parking spaces. We made them oversized for trucks. They're 15 by 30 feet. So that will allow, the trucks that are part of the business, whether it be the landscaping or the excavating, will have a designated area to park. For the most part, the space that we've outlined on the plan is approximately 10 feet off the edge of pavement. If you look a little bit on the west side, we have some storage bins that would be areas that they can put their landscape sand in, stone in smaller quantities, because they might dump a truckload or what's left of a truckload when they finish their work on a job site and store it there till they pick it up and go to another site a few days later. All of these storage areas we're proposing to outline with concrete traffic barriers. So the barriers are going to be placed in the positions shown on here. They are generally about 10 feet long, 2 feet wide, and 2.7 feet high. And that will contain the material that's comes on and off the site on a regular basis and not be dumped erratically in piles around the site like you see now. You'll see storage areas for fill, topsoil, wood chips. We're not proposing to put an area for stumps. They will go directly to a facility that can handle them. And they're, you'll see that, especially if you look on the east side, you'll see a stump pile. You see a disturbed area. This is off. That's currently off the edge of the parking lot. And those, that's all going to be removed. We would recommend.
Hi, Michael.
Yes.
You told me to interrupt at the point of when this is going to happen. I just want to say, I don't know if you guys can see me or hear me. Are you guys all there?
Yeah.
We hear you.
One, we want to apologize about missing the meeting where we were on the site. We were supposed to meet that Wednesday. We had a family member. There was an emergency where our family member, we don't want to really get into that, but we had a family emergency, so we want to start by apologizing for not being there. But part of that meeting was to meet you guys there, to see what was there, take pictures to get to this meeting today, which is, showing you guys what we want to do to solve this problem. But one of the things we spoke about last on the phone, probably about a month or maybe a month and a half ago, was when is this pile going to be out of here? We talked about storms and being a little bit caught up on what was going on with the hurricanes and tornadoes and et cetera. Since then, I've met Robert Sachs from Cherry Hill. He was over at the yard about a week and a half, and we are trying to coordinate a game plan to line up trucks to haul this stuff out of there and get this thing on track. And then hopefully that this approval, I want to leave it in Mike's hands. We hired a professional to try to get him to work with you guys to get this thing approved, and we can move forward. Obviously, it's a problem, and if we can get a control on it and get it out of there, and then stop what's happening, and then Mike will take over from there. So I just wanted to just talk a little bit at that point, Michael.
One quick question, Joe, before you leave. Have you had any conversations with the neighbor regarding the pile of asphalt that's encroaching on your property?
That's a good question. I have not, I didn't know how, I don't like to, I don't like to raise red flags or be the problem to something. You know, I know that what he's doing or what's going on over there is probably the same issue that I'm having over here with the stumps. I think maybe you guys making the approach to him, or if you want me to, I will, but I just almost rather, you know, stay out of what's going on with him on that side. It's not bothering me. For the record, you know, we have a relationship, and whatever you guys decide to do, or if that's part of the approval for this, then we'll have to have the engineer send a letter and explain what's going on and why it has to be resolved all at once, and I'm on board to do so. The goal is to get on this sooner. We talked about getting this resurrected going into the winter months, like I said last month, and we are getting geared up to do so because we know this problem can only go on for so long. We're fully aware of that.
Okay, if there are no other questions for Joe, I will continue. So primarily, if you look at the area on the east side of the pavement, the paved parking area, where you see a disturbed area, you see a stump pile. Once that is cleared up, we would propose to spread topsoil and seed it in those areas. My recommendation would also be to take some of the wood chips that we have on site and place them approximately from the edge of pavement for 10 feet easterly, place them probably around 6 to 8 inches thick, just so that those wood chips could be used to help catch the runoff from the pavement and filter it before it gets to our newly planted grass areas. Ultimately, we're not planning to create lawns in that area. Our intent would be to mow that probably a couple times a year in order to so that it isn't overtaken with brush and briars and all the invasive stuff that has a way of finding itself into these areas the minute it stops being maintained. And again, on the south of the storage bins, you'll see in the middle, we have a substantial amount of pavement there. We would, plan to leave that in place and again, place some wood chips to back up our traffic barriers, just to kind of protect that area and give us a firm area to go in if we have to do some maintenance there in the way of just cleaning up some spillage or something that goes over the bins. And then Carrie, if you could just push it up so it shows the wetlands a little bit to the south. Yeah, perfect. And then you note on there where it says brush to be cut within wetland area, concrete remains, steel beams and other unsuitable material to be removed. I've walked through there numerous times. In my opinion, what's there, it's covered with weeds and vegetation and everything else. I would venture to say that it's been there for years. we would propose to go in and remove that, but not regrade the area. Just take the pieces of concrete out, take the steel beams out and dispose of them. And then let that area return to a natural state. Again, we are suggesting that we cut it twice a year with a brush hog or something like that, just to kind of let the invasive species from taking over out there. And then on the west side, you see the bituminous pavement areas, the pavement piles that have been placed there by the adjoining property owner. And it's, you know, something that you would see the upland review area goes onto his property, probably 40 to 50 feet. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that maybe the commission could write him a letter and, notify him that he has materials placed within the upland review area and ask him to remove it. I think ultimately, in my opinion, as a land surveyor, this area where the neighbor is encroaching may ultimately run into a civil action by one owner or the other, but I can't say that definitely. But usually when things like this happen, it's not something that is that easy to take care of.
Right. I would just add to that from the wetland agent standpoint, that I could definitely cite a violation of storage of material within the 100-foot upland review area without a permit, just in general, but then that doesn't really address the encroachment component of the problem.
Nor does it address the cleanup of that.
And what about the box truck, the old plow blades and
The old truck.
Joe?
I'm assuming they're not licensed, so the town isn't getting any tax on that, so that they're blight, right?
Correct. Joe, are you still there? Can you,
No, he left.
I see his name still there.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello? How are
Yep.
you, sir? Yeah, so those trucks, I mean, we can get them we'll bring them to the junkyard if you want. Some of those things in the back have to be scrapped.
Uh-huh.
So there is some stuff that's good and stuff that's not, so we should really go out there, Mike, and mark what's good and what's not, but a lot of it could get out of there, so I think we should mark that we're gonna get rid of that.
Okay.
Well, all of the material in the wetlands needs to be removed.
Right, and I think that the plan actually shows, Mike, I think your upland review area shows all that stuff coming out of there, so if there's stuff in there, it would need to be coming out. So if the plan was approved, that would be part of the plan to remove all that stuff out of there.
Okay, well, they're talking about the bituminous, we're talking about the bituminous pavement area at this time, Joe. Are you intending to move it, or can you get Mr. Maizano to move it, or?
So we're talking about the pile of stone that's on my property?
Yes.
The asphalt and stone, yes.
So
It's reclaimed asphalt.
I mean, realistically, Mike, I'm gonna need some help here as far as a letter from you guys or something stating that we're in the middle of getting something approved and that it's not, I don't know how to handle this. I mean, I don't want to go over there and be the bad guy, but if it's in the wrong spot, then I don't want to be the guy telling him to move it. If,
Joe.
it's not bothering me, but if it has to go, then I think it has to come from the town, or it has to come from my engineer.
So we will, between now and the 18th, we will address that issue with respect to the material on the neighbor's property and try to get some type of resolution from him or Mr. Maneri to determine how that's going to get removed. So,
So Michael, sorry not to interrupt you. So I'm starting to, it's starting to come back to me now. So the pile of debris is on our property, correct?
correct.
Yes,
Then we need to get it removed, because if it's not in the right spot, then yeah, I agree. It needs to go.
So,
so Carrie said that a wetlands letter can be addressed saying that the storage needs to change.
Right.
correct.
Okay.
I think it would be helpful for us when we go to him if the town could back it up with a letter indicating that material that he's placed.
Right. I mean, and like, we're all going to feel the same way.
Needs to be removed.
Right, that it's in violation, absolutely.
Right. So we're both in violation of basically what's happening. I mean, I understand that you guys have to do and follow the right laws and everything. And if it's out of the guidelines of what we're doing, then we all have to act on it. So I do agree. Then we need to address it. But as far, Mike, I don't know if you brought this up. I stepped out for a minute, but as far as the asphalt, you made a good point at the beginning of the meeting about the asphalt being there and the trucks parked. I mean, I just want to be clear that we're not going to lose any, or we're not trying to lose any space of that asphalt, correct? We're just trying to work within the asphalt area, correct? Is that correct, Mike?
That's correct. We're trying to place our intent is in the future, moving on, to have all of these enclosures within the areas that were covered by asphalt. We're intending to leave the asphalt there.
Right.
You will see the containers outlined on the plan, and you kind of can look at it and say, well, there's a big open area between these containers. Why can't something be moved in further? And the issue is, these are going to be big trucks that are going to come in here. They have to turn around. They have to back up. They have to unload. We have to have machinery to reload.
Right.
And this is all going to be done on the asphalt. And by giving us that area for equipment to move around, it's just going to make for a much cleaner and
Right. And Mike, where it says the fill storage area, it actually looks it's a little bigger than we're actually probably looking to use. So, I mean, if we get something, approved and we decide to make that area a little smaller, I think if we're out of the wetland disturbance area, what do you call it, that setback area? If we're out of that and we're performing, parking trucks there and, choose to park a truck there rather than dump pile of fill, which actually will look better and cleaner. I think I want to make that point too, that just because if it gets approved that it says, hey, we're going to bring these Jersey beers or whatever you call those mafia blocks to keep it tight and organized, that, if we wanted to make it smaller than we're proposing, I just want to make sure that we'd be able to do so. We won't in the area that we're proposing, but we just want to make it as clean and organized as possible.
You mentioned earlier about Cherry Hill. What exactly is the timing? Are we talking that you're going to get this out in the next month? Are you talking about it in 6 months?
We were trying to do it we had something together for last Monday and it fell through, to be honest. And I mean, we're very close to making arrangements to getting it out of there. We're just trying to figure out the best and quickest way
Joe, it's your brother Chris too. I don't want to interrupt, but you keep in mind, it's a big job. It's not a little job. So we all want to be on the same page. We don't want to do something there and then have to go back in there and do it again. We just want to go in. We want to get an approval or whatever we have to do so we're on the same page, and then we just want to blow it out and be done with it. Keep in mind.
Right. So what he's trying to say is he'd like to get, if this thing got approved, we would like to. What he's trying to say is get in there, hire the trucks. The same trucks could haul stumps out, then haul mafia block in and get this on track fairly quick.
You don't want to do something, then somebody's not happy with it, and then we have to do work 2 or 3 times. It's very expensive. We want to do it once. That's all.
I understand that, but still, I mean, we've been working on this almost a year, right? So
A little more.
well, yeah, well, and this is not the first time because we discussed this project a few years ago. So what
It's like in my business, I'm a site contractor, so we always, I'm just saying, we always follow some type of plan. So at the end of the day, like this is nice. This is actually, I mean, I've seen this, but this is the first time really seeing it all done. Now we all have a vision, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, we all know what we're doing. Everybody's on the same page. Before it was move the stump there, move the logs there, we just want to do it once and we want to be done with it.
Okay, so you got the plan. What is the timing? Are we
Chris, what do you say?
months or years?
No, it would be not years. We're talking
We'll blow this thing. We'll take
probably 90-day period from the approval.
90 days from approval. Okay. They're concrete blocks.
Well, let me ask you a question here, because we're asking a couple different things here. So I think what I mean by 90 days, I mean, that's getting the yard clean. I think it's going to take longer than 90 days to get all these.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, getting the yard clean.
We're talking
90 days.
We're talking 90 days, maybe to the way the print looks. But we could get the Cherry Hills on. We met with Cherry Hill the other day. They're ready to send trucks. They don't play around. They got 20, 30 trucks. They're gonna get it done. And going back, to the Maizano thing. I mean, Joe, at the end of the day, we'd like to get it done once together. That's the biggest thing. That's all.
I personally am not inclined to want to vote to approve anything until the cleanup is complete. I'd like to see what the site looks like and where the pavement actually is after the cleanup is complete.
Well, I would agree with that. So
I would agree.
So if we could raise the cistern to cease for 90 days, so we could get in there and do our thing, and then get everything out and broom sweep the parking lot and I agree with that.
I agree with it 100%. We'll see it better then, and we may want to change it to utilize it. And there's a better way.
Perry, where do we stand on this as far as the cease and desist and them cleaning? I thought they were doing some cleanup already.
Well, we talked, the last time we spoke, I know we missed that last meeting, I apologize again, but the last time we spoke was about a month to 6 weeks ago, and we had an issue with the storm and the tornado and the hurricanes. I was very detailed on us not being able to do it till the winter months, and they're coming right now. I mean, I don't even think we said winter, I think we said late fall. So we're approaching the timeline that I did mention on record I don't know if it was last meeting or the meeting before, but I did say that we needed a little bit of time to get in there to get that stuff out of there after the storm damage.
Yeah, and I think as long as the commission is okay with them doing work, which involves cleanup, then they're good to go, as long as the work isn't in the wetlands, right? So it's on the pavement, it's removing the...
I don't think, to be honest, I don't think there's anything in the wetlands
except for in the south side of the property, the concrete remains, the steel beams and other unsuitable material, plus those 2 trucks and the old plow, and then we have to work with Maizano for the asphalt removal.
Right, but
So there is some in the wetlands.
But I don't have a problem with them going in there and dragging out the truck.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it either.
Yeah, I'd like to see
my
that
question.
site completely cleaned up and then have another site walk and then talk about approving the site plan.
I think that's a good idea, because then once it's cleaned up and we have bare pavement there, I can take a can of paint and I can put some marks on the pavement where these storage areas are going to be, and the commission would have a much better idea of, what we're really talking about.
I think that would be great.
Yep.
Out there, so.
Well, and I think that would also give us a little bit more time. So I did receive comments from the zoning enforcement officer, and he also has issued a cease and desist just for violation of accumulation, dumping, and of material and waste, and then prohibited uses. So that would give him a little bit more time to look at the proposed use and make sure that it complies with zoning.
What is our timeline to get rid of this? Can you guys put one on with a, from what we're saying, can you guys tell us how much time you'll give us to do this reasonably?
Well, if we lift
You
the
just said you
wetland
could do it in
cease and
90
desist,
days.
and if we lift the wetland cease and desist, then you have the time that you
We
need
were
to.
looking to do it in 90 days. If it was approved now, we would have the whole thing done, was what we were saying. But we would like some kind of time frame as far as cleanup, so we could meet on site and take it from there to do approvals for site.
Well,
Days.
how long do you think it would take you to clean it up and have your engineer mark the site with spray paint where the bins and
Joey.
this are going?
So it would be 90.
Joey's out there asking how long.
All right, so we're asking for 90 days, Christopher, to clean the site so we could broom sweep the parking lot and then meet Mike Bennett there, the engineer in the town, to reiterate what we're proposing to make sure that it makes total sense so we do it right once and correctly and we all agree.
Okay.
So I think moving forward then.
So that 90 days puts us into January.
So I'm just thinking if we remove the cease and desist, if we go that route, it allows the applicant to do this, say, in 90 days, and maybe you can carry and maybe even Kurt or whatever, you can go out and periodically inspect and see how the project's going. That way you can kind of give us an update, because we'll have a couple meetings between now and January, at least two. Would that be all right? And then come back in January and then look at the plan again, and then we'll have a great look at the site. And
That'll be perfect, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to lay out the bins on asphalt. And Michael's proposing a plan to scale, so we could actually lay it all out when the stumps and everything are out of the way, so we could, lay it out so we could all envision it, and then we could go from there if we have questions or concerns
If we have to
one way
change
or
it,
another.
and if we have something on the site plan to change, you could change it at that point. Yes,
Right.
agreed.
and having the site clean, it'll make our job easier. We can go there and we'll be able to see your vision. And then if we can, if we have to do any minor tweaking or anything, you know what I'm saying? That would be the time to do it. But if you could clean up the site and get that done in, say, 90 days, that would be a huge first step. And then I think we could get this thing moving along, in January.
And then Gary,
The chips real quick. The chips are proposed on the plan a certain way, and it's going to be hard to have the chips cleared out 100%. I mean, if there are some chips lingering at that time, would that be an issue? I'd like to put that up front too. I mean, we do have the tree company that runs the chips there, and we have a burning plant that takes them, and that's done by the fuel company takes them out and they burn them. So
the piles there now are so high, we wouldn't be able to see where these proposed storage areas were going to go. So as long as it's low enough to see where the storage areas are going to go and the engineer can mark it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll start moving the chips out of there, but like I'm saying, they're not going to be, if there's whatever it is, we'll do it by percentage. If there's 100% capacity now, and we bring it down to 30 to 40% capacity and get them to the area where Mike's proposing it now, at least we could still walk around the pile and be able to lay it out strategically and get it so all of us could agree and vision it.
That's fine. That way we can walk around it. We could, and Mike could show us, exactly where the barriers are going. We could see that. We can mark them off. Right. So we're asking you, you can pull some of that back. Obviously leave 30, 40%, whatever works for you, as long as we can see what what's on this plan and, you know, where those barriers would go. That would be fine with me.
May I jump in for 1 second, please?
Absolutely.
I have some comments from Carrie that she submitted to me. I think I addressed them all in my presentation, but one note she had also put in there is this item will need to be continued to November 18th. What I think we're talking about is getting rid of the material first and then coming back to discuss the plan. What I might suggest is for the interim meetings, instead of having us come in every month and make a presentation to you, what I could do is submit a letter report indicating the progress that we're making.
That's exactly what
That's
on a
fine.
monthly basis.
that would be totally acceptable, Mike. Just, you know, in the next 90 days, maybe once a month, give a synopsis of where we are. So that way, each month that goes by, we can see the progress, you know, that we're all striving for. That would be fine. You don't have to, I mean, Carrie can speak, but I would think that would be acceptable to all the agency members. She could share that, you know, your update with us, and then we, you know, then we'll be, you know, educated on what's going on, updated, I should say.
And Carrie, can you coordinate with the zoning enforcement officer if we lift our cease and desist that they will, so that we can get the site cleaned up?
Yes. Yep. And regarding, so this application was submitted and received by the agency, well, this is the first meeting. So I'm just thinking about our timeline of 65 days. Well, it's more than 65 days, but I think that we should be able to have the application still be valid given the statutory timeline with the ability to extend 65 days. So Mike, I think we can coordinate, but maybe if not at the next meeting, the meeting in December, to request the commission can request an extension, so that will take us to the January, maybe even February meeting, so that we're acting within the statutory timeline.
Yeah, well, I'll make a note on my calendar to submit a letter requesting an extension for the December meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, then I guess so at this point, Carrie,
I
guess we could
have
make
one
a motion.
question.
Yep.
I have one question about my zombie next door. Who's gonna act? I was gonna act on that so we can, because he's gonna have to be doing this in 90 days as well. If I had to guess, correct?
So I can reach out to him, write a letter stating that we've noticed encroachment within the 100-foot upland review area. The sticky part is that technically he could say, well, I can't do work. I don't know what he's going to say, but he could say, well, I can't remove material from someone else's property. I don't know if he thinks that it's his property or.
I don't think he would. I mean, he I don't know. It's a gray area. I mean, we do own the property, and
right. So I
at the
think
end of the day,
regardless,
we
we'll
gotta
both
post it.
have to approach him.
Okay.
I can approach him from a wetland standpoint, and then if you approach him from the property standpoint.
I will. No problem.
Just for my clarification, what does your neighbor have stored on your property?
Asphalt.
It's just a pile of asphalt.
It's a big pile. Carrie could bring up a picture. There's pictures of the site, Jerry, if you want to
Is
see.
there any value to this pile of asphalt? I mean, it's not usable other than recycling, is that correct?
They use reclaimed asphalt as sub-base material for new paving. It's primarily material, if you see them out milling the roads.
Right, I know what it is, but.
And that's what you have. It does get reused. That's why they store it.
Right, and it just, the main thing is just got to be pulled back out of the buffer, that's all. But that's
Correct.
what we want, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I can. Maybe I can. Can you see that?
Just a gray screen.
No, it's just a gray screen. We can see the itty bitty little JPEG image at the bottom. I don't know why it's not coming up full size.
Yeah, that's it. I see that.
Because this computer's from 1982.
It is a Commodore 64.
I'm going to hang up the call, so I want to thank everybody for giving me their time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you for attending.
All right, we'll get this clean soon. We're looking forward to hearing from you guys soon. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
You also.
Oh, there we go. That's better.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
So, you get the idea.
It's actually quite a large pile. It's higher than a truck height of reclaimed asphalt.
But is anybody using it? I mean, it's been there a long time, right?
He does use it. Chris does use it. That's, he hauls in the asphalt and he reclaims it and uses it for a base, like we said. So
That's
he does.
the pile right there.
It's a big part of his business.
Carry
yes.
that one right there.
Okay.
Yep.
Get it at?
And that's actually encroached upon Mineri's land.
Our land goes across, basically we own the pile.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe you could sell it back to him, make a profit.
Yeah, I like to lease them, but I also don't want to create, like Joe said, we don't want to create a problem for them. But it'd be nice if we could do something so everyone's on the same page, civility, that's all.
Hopefully you can come to like something that's mutually advantage to both of you, and you know him, which is good. So I'm sure that he sounds like he could be a reasonable person. I'm sure it's.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully we can work something out.
Okay.
So Carrie, again, at this point, should we entertain a motion to remove the cease and desist?
It sounds like it, so that they can do the cleanup.
Right.
And then the motion should also include that the applicant's engineer will submit a monthly update to the commission.
Progress? Okay.
All right. So I move, you want the motion?
Yes.
Good.
I move to release the cease and desist and have the engineering submit a monthly report as to the progress of the cleanup on the site.
At 1071 Middletown Avenue.
1071 Middletown Avenue, and that the cease and desist is only temporarily removed for 90 days.
Second.
We have a second?
I seconded it already.
Okay, very good, Ashley. Okay, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you so
No
much.
problem. Thank you.
I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you. All right, so at this point, we can move on under new business to item B, which is a modification to IWWA application 2019-5 site plan to include proposed installation of a cistern adjacent to the Farm River as accessory and related to the restoration and expansion of the Mill Pond Tavern located within 200 feet of the Farm River and the 100-foot upland review area at 1565 Middletown Avenue.
You're looking at the old agenda. Because it says in the new agenda we got today, it's vault holding tank for fire suppression. Now
Oh, sorry, I didn't
not a
get onto
cistern.
my email today.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Frank. That's good.
So I don't believe Andy Bizzuto is on the call. So I will just start the conversation. I don't know if he's joining it or what the plan is. So just to bring everyone up to speed, this has multiple parts to it. which also gets into 6A, which is under Wetland Enforcement Officer's Report, discussion regarding unpermitted work at 1565 Middletown Avenue. So the work relating to the modification is, and you guys haven't been on the property in a while, I don't believe. So I think it might be good to have a site visit at some point. So there's an area between the vehicle bridge and the building. And what the property owner is looking to do is to install a vault that would be 5 feet by 5 feet by 5 feet. So it would be precast concrete placed actually in the river on the kind of shoreline embankment of the river, and would have a notch set at the lowest level of the river to allow water to get into this vault to serve as a fire suppression device, like tank essentially, holding tank. So the fire chief and Andy Bizzuto were on a conference call today. The fire chief agrees with this development decision. I'm gonna try and pull up I have a letter from him.
Carrie, I thought when Andy talked to us last month that it was going to go north of the footbridge.
That is a different concept. That's like a big pond that would be a fire suppression pond. This is...
I thought that's where the cistern was going to go too. Okay.
So this... Let me try and do this.
Can it be hidden under the bridge?
I don't believe so. So, in the conversation that I was a part of today, the fire chief asked, could access to this vault, could a fire truck access it within like 15 feet of the location? And I'm gonna zoom in here. Can you all see this aerial view?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this aerial view is from 2016, so it's dated. Obviously, it doesn't look like this right now. If you've been there, I think last time we walked there, he's done some work here. There's a proposal to have a ground floor entrance, and this is where the silo is being constructed or was constructed.
For the elevator?
Yes. However, there's no elevator proposed now. That is a change. So the vault is proposed in this general area. Again, it would be along this river embankment, but set at the lowest level of the river. I wish he was on here so he could explain it a little bit better. But this is the sketch that I received. Can you see this drawing? So this is the front view. It would be 8 inches thick, 8 inches tall, and 5 by 5 by 5 with this notch. Again, I'm not really doing well explaining it because it's not really my project. So this is the general gist of it. So that's kind of the main point.
And would it stick out of the water?
So well, it would be 5 feet up, so yes, I think at points that it would stick out of the water, and there would be a pipe connecting to it, and that's where the fire department would connect. Again, if there was a fire, and they would be able to draw from that vault.
I do agree with you. I think the best thing would be, see, this is kind of something different, maybe to do a site walk to see it. I'm not against it or anything. I just would like to learn a little more of it. I'm glad to hear the fire department is supporting this. But it'd be nice to go and actually, I don't know how everyone, the other members, but I would like to actually see it, being that, it's a structure going right into the farm river, Agreed.
Can you all see this email that I just pulled up?
No. Gray screen again.
Hold on.
There.
Let me,
But I think if we do a site walk, somebody has to be there and explain what this vault is and how it works. I have a feeling it's basically to serve as a reservoir so that make it easier for the fire trucks to stick their hose into the river to pull water out, so they're not throwing it in the river, they're throwing it in a contained area.
right, and there would be a screen in the vault so that it would prevent debris and material
Dirt.
from being sucked up.
Right. Yeah, so and as they pull water out, new fresh water would come in, so they have a container to pull from. So conceptually, I get it. I mean, I understand what they're trying to do.
Now I do, since you said that, Frank.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because there isn't water out there, and this is a source of water for the, God forbid there's a fire. So,
Right.
you know, but
Are you able to see this email?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes.
So this is, again, the discussion that we had today. The other thing to mention, so Hartford Sprinkler Systems has been involved in this. They actually designed this vault as well. And there, as you mentioned, there is not public water available to the site, but the site does have a 10,000 gallon water tank located in the basement of the building. This would be a supplemental secondary source of water.
yeah, I mean, it makes sense to do it.
So the one thing that I did ask that Andy provide is a narrative, a description about the construction of this, meaning like, okay, what time of year? I mean, it sounded like you wanted to do this soon, when the water flow is low. Now, it's not as low as it had been. But we need more of a description of how it would actually be installed. It is cast in place concrete, so he's not pouring concrete into the river.
Basically excavating a site near there and plunking it in, basically.
Right.
Is-
I'm just not sure, you would have to have some kind of a blockade to prevent the water from going in
Right.
there when it's being installed.
Does he have a contractor to do this? I mean, or is he just?
I believe so, yes.
Plan. Oh, okay. I mean, that would be helpful to know a little more about that. And, like Frank said, it should be done. They need that, it's only going to be used in an emergency, which hopefully never happens. But it'd be just nice to know, physically how they're going to do that with, hopefully some minimal impact to the Farm River. There'll be some, of course, but.
Right. So, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. My understanding is that area of the pond is fairly shallow, maybe a couple feet deep, and it's literally bedrock, the bottom of it. So are they talking about trying to recess this down into the rock, or is it just sitting in a couple feet of water?
So that area, from what I understand, does not have as much bedrock as the other areas of the pond. So that's why they did choose that location, as well as accessibility. So that also kind of leads me to the other discussion point, which is the unpermitted work, which is this area. You can kind of see it in the image here where this hand is circling. There had been some rocks there. There's significantly more rocks there now, and I'll try and pull up some pictures.
What was that, where the lower dam was? Or is that further down towards the bridge?
The dam that was breached?
Yeah, there was one breached to the north side of the
Right.
building.
So the
No,
more,
that would be up past them.
right.
Yeah, but I thought there was down near the bridge as well. Or maybe it was there. I don't know.
It could have been in this location. There were rocks there historically. Again, not as
Okay.
formal as they are right now from when the first time I was on the property. He's created kind of like a sluice way along one side, and the water does bleed through. But the amount of rocks that are piled up, again, were not there when this project started, let's say. You know, historically, they may have been there. So the feeling though is, in talking with Andy, quite honestly, I think these rocks were built up to help retain the water here, to create that pond atmosphere, and then also now help serve this vault purpose. Let me see if I can.
Does it restrict fish flow?
Currently, yes.
Then that's a problem.
Right. So Steve Gephardt, the person who worked for DEP, he's since retired, had been out there and he had rearranged some rocks several, I don't know, months ago, maybe even a year ago now. But it's changed significantly. So more additional work needs to occur, and DEP's dam division has actually been out on the property. They have some concerns. They wanted to hear what Wetlands has to say about the work that's been done. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share these pictures.
We definitely need a site walk.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's hard to even really address anything else without seeing it. It's very concerning, let's put it the very least.
Especially since all of that effort was put into the fish dam on the mill pond.
Right.
I'm not Mill Pond, but on Mill Road.
Right.
And now that the fishway is there, this is very concerning that it's going to be restrictive.
So can you all see this image, the 10-20-20 photo A?
Yep.
So this
Yep.
is that, this area to the north side or upper side of the concrete blocks, that's the general area where they're talking about putting this vault. And then this is this sluiceway that was created, and this is these are the rocks that have been moved and reorganized.
So is that restricting, you think that's restricting fish flow right now?
At this exact point, no, but if you look downstream a little bit more, yes.
Okay.
Let me see. That one doesn't really show it either. This is a closer up photo of where the vault is proposed.
So they will be opening up some area on the bank.
Yes.
They will be
So
removing some dirt and fill.
this is, if you look at this one, the view from
Oh,
Route
wow.
17, that's where it's restricted for fish access.
Yeah, very much so.
So I think, you know, and Andy was talking about having some kind of a fish ladder there, something created, I'm not sure exactly what, but, you know, all possible. Then kind of just talking about some other unpermitted work, and I'm not sure when this had happened, but this is the vehicle bridge, so now you're looking upstream, but this is on the opposite side of the bridge from where the building is.
Mm-hmm.
These rocks have also been modified. So again, this is downstream of the bridge, but looking up towards the mill pond. This area all on the right side of the bank, if you're looking upstream, doesn't have vegetation. Andy recognized that, and there has to be a restoration plan developed, you know, before this project is complete.
So,
So there's a couple barriers to wildlife then.
yeah,
Right, and the initial barrier that we knew about, you can't see it well in this photo because it's just a thumbnail, but this is where there's a gap and it's perched, so there's a concrete platform underneath of this vehicular bridge. So this is what Steve Gephardt had initially talked about, is having a fish ladder right here. So we knew that was a problem, but this is a different challenge now.
Well, when they redo this vehicle bridge, were they planning on taking out that lower area?
No.
No, okay.
So the vehicle bridge they're going to leave these abutments because they were trying to have as little impact as possible. So they're just going to put new pilings in further back, and it will just be elevated over the existing bridge, which will stay in place.
But I had suggested several meetings ago that I questioned about restoring the lower dam, which is somewhere near that bridge. And they said they weren't going to do that because I thought restoring that would have given them more volume of water in the actual mill pond, and that a fish ladder could have been constructed down there so that it would not impede fish traffic.
Mm-hmm.
But they said, no, we're not going to do that. But they did do some on the upper dam. They did do some repairs there, if I recall what Andy had said.
Yes, the upper dam, so to upstream of the building, they have done repairs to the wing walls of the dam, but there's no impediments there in the river.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe, Jerry, what you're saying, they almost did that here based on this photo.
Yeah.
Which we weren't expecting that at all. At least I wasn't.
Right. No, agreed.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we definitely need to schedule a site walk, Carrie.
Yeah,
Okay.
there.
That's
That
fine.
wasn't done.
Okay. So do we want to, let's look at the schedule now, if that's okay.
Yep.
So it's gonna be dark earlier,
Mm-hmm.
starting
Starting
Sunday.
Saturday into Sunday.
Yep. So what do people wanna do? Do we wanna try
Early in the morning.
early in the morning?
Okay, Mr. Retired.
I know, I mean, I could, weekend could work, but I would have to probably do the afternoon of the 7th, or I could do the morning of the 8th, if you want to do a weekend.
I was joking, but I'm happy to. I'll do any time everybody agrees to. I'm pretty flexible.
Saturdays and Sundays are fine with me too.
That's fine with me. If you want to do something during the week, I can, pretty much I can get some arranged and get out early. I'm trying to think, well, the sunset will be really, you got it to 5 o'clock, right? I'm thinking as of next
Yep.
week, 5:15. So if you want to do it during the week, you'd have to do it like 4:30, I would imagine, right? You need a
Or 4.
4, right? It's,
That works
So-
for me, but can you get out, Steve?
I could if I have a little, you can let me know the day, and for the most part, I can, yes. If I
Okay.
can redo my schedule a little bit, it's not a problem.
Wednesday is really good for me, but I mean, don't work around me.
I can't do the 4th at all. I have 2 appointments that day.
The 4th.
Yeah, the 4th I can't do.
Oh, that's okay.
The 6th, Friday. It's good.
I could do the 6th.
I can do the 6th.
The 6th is the Friday. Yeah, what time would you want me there? That
At 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock? All right. Yeah. I could do that.
Frank, you okay with that? You're on mute, Frank.
I think I'm okay. As far as I know, I'm okay.
Okay,
I
I'll
was just-
send out a
yeah.
reminder too.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So then it looks like the modification obviously would be continued to the next meeting, which is, November 18th.
We
Carrie,
need
just a
motion,
quick
right?
question about the site walk. Can we still use the bridge to drive across, or do we have to go north of it and park in that other area and walk down?
You can use the bridge still,
It's still okay?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they drive.
You can go first, Ashley. How's it?
Yeah, thanks.
I go
What time
every
did you say it was
Tuesday,
on?
so it's okay.
So do we just need a motion then, right, to continue that?
Right, continue that and then set a site walk for November 6th at 4 p.m.
Yeah, and if Carrie, you can get somebody there to explain what this box is and.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds straightforward, but it'd be nice to have
Yeah.
especially someone who's going to install. It'd be really nice to have someone who knows specifically what they're going to do. But
Right.
so would someone like to make that motion?
What motion are we actually making?
Continuing item B, modification.
Okay, all right.
Just
All right, I move to continue item 5B, modification to IWWA 2019-5 site plan to include the cistern adjacent to the Farm River at Mill Pond Tavern located at 1565 Middletown Avenue. I'll have to do the site walk separately, don't I?
Yes.
So we need it, so that you made the motion, so that to continue that, so we need a second for that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. And then
And then, I don't know, do we need a motion to
we don't
schedule a
really
site
need a
walk?
motion for the sidewalk, do we?
No.
No, that's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
right. So I guess then we're done with new business, so we can move on to item 6, which is Wetland Enforcement Officer's report. So I guess you could start with, if you want to go in that order, Carrie, start with item A, discussion regarding possible text amendments.
So this is, sorry, we had amended the agenda. So with the revised agenda, A was the discussion regarding the unpermitted work, which we just talked about at
Right.
1565. And then B, so discussion regarding possible text amendments. So I hope you all received the paper copy of the proposed changes. I just wanted to go through and make sure generally people didn't have any issue or questions. A quick summary of the modifications relate to sections 7, 8, and 19 of the regulations. So I had done them with track changes. And with 7, it was essentially relating to when applications have to be filed, making sure that the application fee is paid at the time of the filing, and
that applications are complete?
right, exactly, that they're complete. And also I added an appendix for a site plan checklist as opposed to listing it in the actual regulation. I have it as a separate appendix now.
Very good.
And
Also,
yeah. Go ahead.
never mind, finish and I'll tell you what I want.
Okay, so then in section 8, it's again speaking to requiring that the applicant submit new information 14 calendar days prior to the wetlands meeting or public hearing. And then also enabling the town to require that experts be hired and retained. And let's see what else. Section 19, which is the fee permitting. We actually revised the complex application fee so that it states, instead of just extra assessment, it specifically calls out that the commission can charge an additional fee sufficient to cover the cost of reviewing complex applications. And then one additional change that I've made is to add another section, which would be for monitoring, a monitoring fee. So it would be similar to, well, similar to having an outside expert, but it would be to allow someone to review a project during construction that would be designated by the agency. So that's also in that complex application, the fee structure component. And then I added in the wetlands signs, requiring the applicants to pay for those as well.
Perfect.
My comments go to basically what Ashley said about the applications being complete is here, because I didn't see that. And if they come in not complete, what recourse do we have?
Don't accept it.
Because I thought the Fowler Road was horrendous.
Yeah.
And I know that's a complex application, but it still should have been complete.
Right.
And I'm not sure how to do that, but I think there should be, some type of drop kick penalty. Okay, not complete, okay, we're done. It's canceled, you start all over and you submit new fees or something like that. That's maybe really drastic, but
There is something in here, Frank. I'm just trying to. There is.
yeah, I didn't see it.
I thought there was something in here that said that the application may be denied if incomplete. Let me just see.
On 7.3, all I see is all applications shall contain such information that is necessary for a fair and informed determination of the case. But I don't see anything about being denied.
So 8.8, which is with the track changes, and actually it would be 8.9 maybe.
Incomplete applications may be denied.
Right.
But so if we look back at the Fowler Road, they constantly made changes during the process, right? I mean,
So that would be under 8.6. Additional information provided by the applicant. And I have kind of a working draft, but shall be provided at a minimum of 14 calendar days prior to the wetlands meeting when the item will be discussed.
all right. If that covers it. And then the other thing, a minor change on the cover page, actually the first page where you list the watercourse commissioners, you have Lisa DuPont on that.
So
Yeah, Lisa's not here anymore.
interesting matter. So she is still a member because she has not formally withdrawn or resigned from the agency.
Really?
I've emailed her to ask her, when I found this out, I said, this is interesting, because I thought the same thing, I'll just correct this. So then I reached out to the clerk and she said, no, she still is listed as a member because she has not resigned. She
And
has
has
to
not been
submit
replaced.
something in writing.
Or has, even though she's expired, has not been replaced.
Has she been sworn in recent years?
No.
So if you're not sworn in, are you still a member?
You are, if you're sworn in at the beginning of your term. And if you're not replaced by the Democrats or the Republicans, then you continue to serve until they replace you.
Except I was sworn in like every couple of years, right? I have been.
Yes.
Yeah, I have too, every time you're reappointed.
Yeah, if you're reappointed.
But I thought when your term expired, it expired.
Nope. You serve until you're replaced. If you expire, you serve until you're replaced.
So I emailed her, I don't know if anyone's friends with her, I'm not sure how else to get in touch with her. I emailed her and asked her if, I said, if you're willing to come back, we'd love to have you, but if you're not interested, please submit something in writing and resign. So we can.
Yeah, I haven't seen her in a year. I ran into her at a store.
Do you know which party nominated her? I don't think it was the Republicans.
I don't know.
I forget. But what I'll have to do next is send her a letter.
Hopefully you'll get a response. That would be the best thing to do.
Right.
Are we gonna relook at the fees again? Because the last time was 2015.
Right, and we wanted to talk about the fees.
And know what, the last time you looked at, if I remember right, you looked at what Branford was doing
Right.
and some of the other adjoining towns and.
Yeah, so we can, sure. So the goal for tonight was just to see if you had any questions about this, and then if you want me to make additional changes, I'm happy to. But then at some point, I wanted your blessing to start the process of getting the public hearing set up, because we'll have to advertise twice. So there actually is not enough time between now and the November meeting to have the public hearing in November. So I think the earliest we could have the public hearing is December at this point. So
Can we
could-
have some kind of look at the fee schedule before then too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but the other thing is that let me see. With the holidays, I think. So our November meeting is November 18th, and then our December meeting I think is December 16th. So there would be enough time. I think we could do. Yeah, we could advertise twice, so we could do that, and then have a public hearing maybe December 16th. It's no rush really, I guess. We could always wait and have the public hearing in January, but.
It might be better.
Okay, so we'll talk about I'll look at the fees for other towns, and then come back with those suggestions for the next meeting.
That would be
Okay.
great. Yeah, we can make some
Thank
decisions.
you.
then. That would be great. And then if we want to, modify them, that'd be perfect.
Okay. And then I also just want to mention, Greg Sharp helped a ton with this, so thank you, Greg. And just want to recognize your contribution, so I appreciate it.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay, so we can move on to item B or
No, C.
C, right? We did B, right? All right, that's right. So let's go to C, update on Farm River Watershed Project.
Sorry, before that is discussion regarding Pocd conservation tasks. So I think I'll probably
Yep.
carry this over to the November meeting, but at some point I just wanted to talk with you all about maybe I'll email you or send in the next packet, conservation tasks that are specific to the agency, and see which one you might want to focus on, because there's a lot of tasks. And I think even just looking at our regs is a huge help anyway. But I think that one of the items is looking at open space, if you want to prioritize setting aside any open space, looking at our regulations in regards to stormwater or protection of the Farm River, so we can consider some of those actions as we try and
Good.
tackle the to-do list of the POCD. Update on the Farm River Watershed project. That project's moving along well. Everyone, I believe, has mainly done the stream walk of the various sections of the Farm River. There may be one or two sections that are left, but I've spoke with the consultant from Fuss and O'Neill and just given him some input as far as challenging or problem areas along the Farm River that we'd like some help with. They are also going to look at our regulations as part of the watershed plan. So they're looking at our wetlands regs and our zoning regs. We haven't had a meeting in a while, but I can update you and let you know next time we meet with the group. One interesting quick little side story is that Chris Sullivan, who's leading the project from the Southwest Conservation District side, he walked a section of the river from where the Farm River intersects with Totucket Road, and that's near 261 Totucket, where the property owner had done all of that work without a permit, but then he ran out of money. So Chris quickly sent me email or pictures and emailed me and said, do you know about this? And I said, yes, we do. Unfortunately, our hands are tied. Literally, I think less than a week later, I got a call, and I called the property owner to say, this is a concern. Can you at least just put some hay out, spread some grass, put up some silt fence and hay bales? And then I proceeded to get a call from someone who's interested in buying the property and is interested in cleaning up all of the outstanding violations. So, yet to
Wow.
be seen, but I was shocked that that may actually happen. So
That would be great.
we'll see. Yeah, but that's some good news. The Cedar Lake Outlet Project. So you'll recall there was concerns about water levels at Cedar Lake and how to clear the outlet. There's no real owner of that outlet channel. It's various property owners. So recently the town council did approve to have the town be the applicant for the clearing and maintenance of that outlet channel. Tilcon is has agreed to pay for Triton Environmental to do environmental studies and most likely have a third-party vendor come through and do the cleanup, maintenance, first they have to investigate to see what the problem is, but then remove any downed trees or whatever the issue is. So I would expect that you'll see that application before you probably in the next month or so, which will be good.
Right.
And then the town is doing work in the stream off of Gale Drive. So Joe Maneri's place, so at 1071 Middletown Avenue, that stream flows to the south. If you went north across 17, that connects to Gale Drive. So that's the section that the town is looking to clear some brush and just any downed trees, just perform regular maintenance. I guess DOT did some work at that bridge years ago, which helped increase the flow, but now it's still getting caught among debris and overgrown brush. So I just wanted to give you the heads up if you hear of any work going on over there.
Good.
And then the DEP Wetlands Training, I'm going through it now. It's taking me a few weeks to complete, but it's really informative and just a good refresher. Their website is down at this point, so no one else can sign on, but I'll let you know when it comes online. But I think, Frank, you did it recently, and I'm going to email all of you just some, what are they? Some narratives for ex parte communication examples, which I thought were just good to keep in mind. So they have this whole thing about if you're approached at a grocery store about a project and someone says, oh, can't you tell me a little bit more about it? And I thought the way that they wrote this is just a nice way and just something to keep in the back of your mind of, I'm unable to discuss this related to such and such and such, receiving outside information could jeopardize my, position. So I'll just email them to you as a reminder. And that's pretty much it.
Great. All right, then I guess unless someone has any other, any other comments or anything, we can.
I do. I have another comment. Mary, it's nice to see you, but I want my cookies.
That's another person who deserves a huge shout out. So I received an email from Michelle at 6:15 or something saying she's sick, not feeling well, which I feel terrible about. She's hoping that she doesn't have COVID, was possibly exposed.
Boy.
I emailed Mary at 6:20. Mary, could you help us? No need to do it right now. You could watch the recording. But Mary just logs right in and helps us out. So thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Wonderful.
No, you muted yourself again, Mary.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Oh, cookies next time.
Yes, cookies.
I
You
think
can
we're
just
giving
put them on the screen and you can look at them.
Mary's going to
Maybe
think we're
it could be your
complimenting her with
background.
cookies. We do appreciate her work, even if we don't get any cookies. We still appreciate her work.
Actually, Mary, I just finished the cookies that were in the goodie bag from your fundraiser.
Oh my gosh. There were some good ones.
Yeah, they were.
There were.
Were you there, Ashley? I didn't see.
Yeah, I was there.
I didn't see you.
Yep, I took my youngest and my mom. Yep, the three of us were there. It was awesome. It was
Frank,
such a
you
good
did
day.
good job keeping everybody apart. You didn't even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you did such a good job. It was an awesome fundraiser and the day was beautiful. What a perfect day.
I like the radio station.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Do we have a
Second.
second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Wonderfully
Good
there.
night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. You do a
Thank
great
you,
job.
Carrie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Mary.
Bye.
Everyone.